All right, YouTube. The Colombian government has seized 8 tons of nice, pure, powdery white cocaine in one of their largest drug busts in their history. I hate to say you should end the drug war and this wouldn't be a problem, but this wouldn't be a problem if you ended the drug war. I know some of the alt-righters and stuff, they're like, oh, well, drugs are degeneracy. Well, yeah, but I mean, they're still going to be used anyway, and there's really not much that any government can do about that. In fact, the government's totally incompetent to do anything about that. That's why I'm a libertarian, because government's incompetent. The problem down there is that there's an economic reason for it. It's literally the free market at work. The concept is this: a free market suppressed is simply the same thing as a black market, and a black market is simply the free market once so heavily regulated it no longer operates freely, or when it's made illegal in some way, or when it's made you get fined or you get arrested for something. The demand for these drugs isn't going to change. The best way to change the demand for such substances is to get people into treatment and focus on cracking down on people who would try to force or try to convince, give out crack to school children or something, which, by the way, is so exceptionally rare that I don't know what Dare was talking about when I was in middle school. Clearly, it never actually happened. Nobody really offered me free drugs unless it was a bowl of pot. Nobody ever offered me free coke or acid or anything like that. Honestly, back when I used these substances, I never tried coke, but you know what I mean. When I was using narcotics, I was kind of upset. I thought I'd get all these cool drugs for free and I wouldn't have to pay anything for them. Instead, I had to pay through the nose, which is ultimately a hindrance to anyone who doesn't want to make their own drugs to have a steady supply thereof. And of course, risking the sort of slap on the wrist punishments you typically get for having a joint is not the same as risking 30 years in federal prison for actually manufacturing such things. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to just grab some morning glory seeds. But Colombia's suffers because, in part, of these drug lords, these operations and the cartels associated with moving the stuff. Our border suffers from it. And let's face it, 8 tons of cocaine is an enormous amount of coke. Even the CIA couldn't go through that in a week, and they've got a legendary level of coke snorters, within the Central Intelligence Agency. Yeah, the CIA basically invented crack. They can claim that they didn't. Yeah, they run drugs and make money off of it. Essentially, the CIA has devolved to the point at which it's a little more than a drug-running operation, which is part of the reason why the drug war continues. The government wants to keep its cut. Obama is actively partnering with the Sinaloa cartel and giving them weapons to fight off Los Zetas down in Mexico. What more evidence do you need that our government's grafting and getting some sort of profit from these things? It's just another backdoor profit for the bankers and the corporations, their associated partners. Our politicians love human trafficking because then they can rape and kill and do all their weird torture games to people that they pick up off the streets in the third world. It's sort of like Hostel or something like that. I'm sure that there are actually people who have clubs like that. No word on which ones. I think Epstein probably rings a bell here, but we'll leave that alone for the moment. But yeah, 8 tons of coke is quite a bit. Fucking put some bricks in your bathtub, I guess, and take a bath, and just inhale deeply, and you'll feel a lot better. You'd probably die, but you'd feel better before you died. Yeah, the drug war is what causes this shit. We wouldn't need to be importing cocaine if it was possible for people to just obtain it through a more legal source. Yeah, I would legalize coke. I'd legalize it all because people who are actually addicted need to get treatment. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. If you want people to get clean and go about being a productive citizen, that's the way to go. Not everyone can simply stop taking drugs like I did, because I never smoked crack, I never took meth, I never snorted cocaine, I never got onto any of these substances that have a high addiction potential. Other than alcohol, I'm not really addicted to that. I can take it or leave it. Caffeine, I'm thoroughly addicted to caffeine. Coffee is one of the most addictive substances of all, and it also tastes good. One thing I don't think a lot of people realize this, but most drugs actually taste like shit. Like Amanita is notorious for this. Morning Glory doesn't taste good. LSD has a weird taste to it also. There's a slight flavor you can't quite put a name to. Like a slightly acidic, fizzy, almost like pop rock residue flavor without the sweetness or something like that. No, that's not evidence that it's not real LSD. That just happens to be the flavor involved. Yeah, most drugs don't smell or taste particularly pleasant. Many of them are outright terrible. Ayahuasca, yeah, get a whiff of that up in you and you'll see if you still feel like taking it. But no, the Colombians wouldn't have to worry about this if it weren't for the fact that the largest absorber of drugs in the world, the United States, didn't have an active suppression policy on the free market. And that is essentially what it boils down to. It's the economy, stupid. It's your wallet, stupid. People are going to obtain drugs if they want them. Most of them are non-addictive and not particularly dangerous. You wouldn't want people driving around high on magic mushrooms, but as far as its capability to outright kill a person just by taking it, no, it's not, doesn't really happen. There have been a handful of people who have died on these psychedelics, not very many. Nobody died directly from weed unless they, I don't know, they'd have to concentrate the THC and then have like a legendary tripping session to actually really fuck themselves up. More often they're going to kill themselves because they just go completely psychotic. By the way, since when did people think that they needed to like reconstitute pure THC and other cannabinoids and not smoke actual pot? Like, what's the fucking purpose? It's stupid. You shouldn't be doing that, all that bubbly and all that other stuff people talk about. There's this one video, I'll link in the description, where this one dude smoking some sort of liquid marijuana and he just goes completely fucking crazy. Looks like a spice overdose, honestly. It looks similar, cannabinoid. Appears to have a roughly similar effect, which is the person goes temporarily completely insane. Maybe I looked like that when I OD'd on spice. Yeah, it's funny because the legal ones are the ones that'll fuck you up sometimes. Spice will fuck you up a lot worse than pot will ever fuck you up. It should all be legal. Yeah, we should give these people addiction treatment. We should start looking at it not as a crime because, the government doesn't have any right to regulate what consenting adults can put in their bodies. But if they're starting to get all fucked up, like alcohol, if someone's an alcoholic, you throw them in the drunk tank and then you put them in rehab facility. You get them treatment. You treat them like someone who's fucking sick. They've got a dependency upon that substance. The same is true of a crackhead, a pill snorting, pill crusher, or a meth head. Any of these other people, they're exactly the same as an alcoholic. There's no real difference between these different classes of drug users. What is different is those that simply use drugs casually, are not addicted, can stop, and often do stop suddenly without any real need to get back on the sauce, so to speak. I stopped using drugs years ago. I feel just fine without them, other than the caffeine. I'm not going to quit that. If the government ever tried to crack down and say, well, we're going to regulate caffeinated products, no more Red Bull for you, I'd be the first one protesting at that point. Don't fucking touch my fucking Red Bull. There'll be a fucking problem. Yeah, that's the way I roll. That's my drug of choice now, Red Bull. It does give me wings, For legal purposes, I can't say it'll give you wings, but I certainly feel like flying after I have a couple cans of that stuff. Oh, that's way better than any fucking pod ever was, trust me. It may not give you the munchies. Alcohol a little bit. It's called the drunchies. As far as Red Bull goes, just great. I don't need cocaine. I've got Red Bull. I'll dry that and fucking chop that up and snort that, and I'll probably feel better anyway. And I won't even have to wear like a white suit and sunglasses and walk around with CIA members because they're the only ones that have a steady supply. So yeah, there you have it. We should just fucking end the drug war. This wouldn't be a friggin' problem. The border crisis would be half solved if we just did that, and we'd save so much money hand over fist. You wouldn't need drugs because you wouldn't have such widespread systemic poverty. Taxes would be a lot lower and people can just get their Red Bull. That's a good, get good American energy drinks and drink them instead. Trust me, it's just fucking great. I love caffeine. I wish I could inject it straight into my carotid artery. Unfortunately, I haven't accomplished this yet. That's about all. Peace out.